So in this video, I'm gonna break down one of the reasons why I think that a lot more people would rather be employed than to do their own thing within their business, okay? So hear me out as I make these couple points and let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you disagree. So I'm gonna start by asking you a question, right? Around, I would say like stewardship and responsibility. So let's say you got kids, right? Let's say you have kids, but let's say the neighbor hits you up and says, hey, can you watch my kid for me for a couple hours? And you know, you've never watched your neighbor's kid before. Your neighbor's kid is around your kid's age. A lot of similarities in your neighbor's kid and your kid. So you agree, you say, all right, yes, I'll take care of your kid. Now, here's the thing, right? Your neighbor brings this kid over. Now the kid's in your living room, neighbor's gone. How much attention are you paying to this kid? You have your eye, and I'm gonna assume you're like me, okay? If you're like me, you have your eye on this kid every minute. You're like, I need to make sure this kid does not break a leg, get hurt. I am paying a lot of attention to this kid. Why? Because this ain't my kid. I gotta make sure that this kid ends up going back to his or her parents the same way they left them, right? You know what? I'll take it a step, I'll switch it up a little bit. Let's say somebody lets you borrow their car. They let you borrow their car and they trust you and you like them. And you say, I need to use your car. I'm gonna bring your car back exactly how you gave it to me. If anything, if you're like me too, you'll fill up the tank. I would never borrow someone's car without like bringing it back to them with a full tank. Now, let's flip the perspective a little bit. Let's bring it back to your kids and your car. How much attention, and you're past the newborn phase, because when you have a newborn, you're watching them like a hawk too, right? So you're past that phase. Let's talk about your kids. When you have your own kids, you tend to get very lax with them over a period of time. Like if they start running around, you start to have this attitude like, you're gonna get hurt. You know what? I'm gonna wait until you get hurt. But you won't do that with somebody else's kid, because you gotta make sure they come back in one piece. So the reason I'm bringing all this stuff up is because when you are a steward, or when you're responsible for someone else's stuff and they're holding you accountable to it, you tend to treat it differently than if it's your stuff and you have to hold yourself accountable. Any damage or anything that happens to it, in your head, you could take it to heart or you may not. If you're employed and someone's paying you and they tell you, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, you do it. You wanna know why? Because one, you gotta take care of somebody else's stuff. And two, they're gonna hold you accountable to it. And three, their accountability is tied to your well-being. So just imagine you have all these variables and everything is tied to your well-being. You take care of it. Very different than you having the self-discipline to take care of your own stuff and manage your own expectations and have to look at your own stuff the same way you would have to look at the stuff that you would otherwise be stewarding for others. So again, now this is the other reason why, and I'm gonna take it one layer deeper. This is also one of the reasons why entrepreneurs, whenever they get an investor, they tend to operate very differently if the business is self-funded. Very differently. Like if you're bootstrapping your business, you treat it way different than if you have an investor that expects returns, they expect results, they expect gains. It's a very different business. That's why depending on the entrepreneur and what you're building, it's oftentimes encouraged to find investors so that you could put yourself in a state where, one, I mean, you're gonna be held to the fire. I know optimally it'll be amazing to own 100% of whatever you have. That's amazing, but that's not how business works. So, oftentimes you gotta put some skin in the game, and sometimes it entails you giving a little bit of it from your business. All right. So to take it even another step further, and again, this whole video, the point of it is around stewardship. People who have this posture around money and material things as if it's not theirs, they're just responsible for it right now, they tend to do a lot better than people who think that they own stuff. Like an example, money, I don't have any money. That's not my money. That's all the Lord's money. He's empowering me to do something with it. It's not my money. This ain't my car. I don't own this. I don't own anything. Everything I am put in a position to steward it. So if I pull up to Starbucks and I decide to give the homeless person that's sitting at the corner, $10, $20, I didn't give them my money. I am responsible for stewarding resources that the Lord's blessed me with. So I gave him or her money from, a bank account that I'm responsible for. It's not mine. So again, if you start to think of things differently when you don't define it as yours or his, or like you start to say, hey, I am a steward and I'm being held responsible for it. Try it out. And also too, you know what? I opened this video by saying, hey, let me know if I'm wrong. Again, I'll ask you again. Let me know if I'm wrong. What are your thoughts?